Welcome to Football Coach's Edge. I'm the coach. This is episode 5, Visualization in the Preseason. In episode 4, I showed how visualization can remove all doubt, fear, and anxiety from your players and build supreme confidence and playing in a state of mind known as the zone. In this episode, I will show you how to best introduce visualization to your players in the preseason, setting up a vision and philosophy, setting up team captains, correcting negative behaviors, setting up a player mentor protege system, and what fundamental skills to focus on. When introducing the concept of sports visualization to your football program, the obvious time to begin is in the preseason. I am not talking about mid-August, but rather much earlier. Ideally, you should begin soon after the 4th of July in the form of team meetings at least twice a week for a couple of hours. If you can get more than that, then by all means do so. This is perhaps the most important time for your program. In addition to the basic information that you would normally have to cover, such as team rules and expectations, schedules, paperwork requirements, etc., introduce your vision and philosophy and begin the process of getting your players to buy into it. Remember, how you present your vision and philosophy and how well you can make the case for why visualization will help them improve their overall performance will determine their level of buy-in. Now, speaking of buy-in, before you can ever begin the meetings with your players, you have to get buy-in from your coaching staff, because without it, your program will never get off the ground and will, in the end, fail. School your coaches on everything about your program, including visualization. Have them practice visualization themselves, and once they are comfortable with the concept and have bought into it, they are now ready to teach the players. So, let's start by discussing your vision and philosophy. You must have both because they will serve as the guiding principles for your program. Coming up with your own vision and philosophy will require much self-reflection and thinking. It is much more difficult than you think. Keep both to no more than one sentence, and don't forget to list how you are going to implement them both. Also, don't be afraid to change or tweak them until you arrive at something you feel great about. Everything you do with your program should be in support of your vision and philosophy. This is an example of my vision and philosophy. My vision is to develop a consistently successful program by creating a perpetual state of supreme confidence in my players known as the zone. This will be achieved by incorporating the performance-enhancing technique of visualization into practices and games. Visualization will not only maximize player performance and give them a winning edge on the field, but will also provide my student athletes with a valuable tool for navigating the complexities and challenges of adult life off the field. My philosophy is that you are more than just your mistakes, so work hard, be accountable, embrace the moment, and find an excuse to win. Players and coaches will view mistakes as a natural opportunity to learn and improve rather than an assessment of their talent. Players and coaches will be expected to work hard at all times for each other. Absolute accountability will be demanded of all players and coaches. Players and coaches will learn to view every game as an exhilarating moment, never to be wasted. Players and coaches will learn to define winning on every play and be laser focused on doing so under all circumstances. An important part of my vision and philosophy comes from the teachings of John Wooden. The following are some of his ideas that influenced me. Quote, "Perfection is what you are striving for, but perfection is an impossibility. However, striving for perfection is not an impossibility. Do the best you can under the conditions that exist. That is what counts. But there is something wrong if you fail to measure up to your ability because you haven't prepared, end quote. Quote, I had mistakes, plenty, but I had no failures. Are you going to make mistakes? Of course, but it is not a failure if you make the full effort. You always win when you make the full effort to do the best of which you're capable, end quote. Quote, you can make mistakes, but you aren't a failure until you stop blaming others for those mistakes. When you blame others, you are trying to excuse yourself. When you make excuses, you can't properly evaluate yourself. Without proper self-evaluation, failure is inevitable, end quote. Quote, the very worst thing you can do is to beat yourself. By that I mean not function to the level of competency because you didn't put on your full effort in all ways. The other guy didn't have to beat you because you beat yourself. Now you've got something worth being ashamed of, end quote. Quote, competitiveness must be focused exclusively on the process of what you are doing rather than the result of that effort, the so-called winning or losing. Otherwise, you may lose self-control and become tight emotionally, mentally, and physically. I think someone who is too competitive as an individual is overly worried about the final score. Therefore, I never mention winning or victory to my players. I never refer to beating an opponent. Instead, I constantly urge them to strive for the self-satisfaction that always comes from knowing you did your best you could to become the best of which you are capable. That's what I wanted, the total effort. That was the measurement I used, never the final score, end quote. Those are some words of wisdom from the best coach that ever lived. So let's go back to visualization. After you have introduced visualization and why it works to your players, begin the process of having them practice it. Begin with the visualization for concentration technique. Have your players create a mental image and keep it in their mind's eye for as long as possible. Remember, they don't have to close their eyes when doing this if that is what works best for them. The player could visualize a football and try to sustain the imagery for a specific period, like 5 minutes, or some other positive image that they can relate to. Perhaps you can give them a series of images and have them practice this for a period of time that you feel comfortable with. Next, have them practice visualization of a simple task, such as walking over to pick up a football and throwing it to a coach or some other task that they can relate to. Again, perhaps you can give them all a series of tasks and have them practice this for a period of time that you feel comfortable with. Have them practice this technique at each meeting. Have them change up the imagery and task visualizations during each meeting. When the summer meetings are over and you transition to preseason practice, you can then move to visualizing actual skill techniques that they are taught. But until then, keep the visualization for concentration techniques simple and fun. Another important topic you should cover during the summer meetings involves the process of choosing captains. Make sure that you make the process clear and easy to understand. Your team captains will serve as an important instrument for getting buy-in from the team for your vision and philosophy, including visualization. So make sure you plan this out well. This is an example of my plan for team captains. Candidates will be chosen by the coaching staff for their leadership qualities and buy-in to the vision and philosophy. Candidates will be voted on by their peers. Captains will ensure that rules and processes are followed by the players. Captains will gauge team morale and advise the coaches. Captains will assist in determining consequences for negative behaviors. Captains will give input in determining starters and playing time. Captains will be rewarded by game planning and coaching the team during the annual Thanksgiving Day game. The next important topic to cover involves correcting negative behaviors. Unfortunately, this is a reality that all coaches must deal with, and if not dealt with properly and consistently early on, will only mushroom into a major obstacle for team success. So this is an example of my plan. Peer pressure will be used to correct negative behaviors. Team captains and or the player in question will help the coach decide on the consequences. Consequences could be for the individual player or whole team. After working out a fair consequence, the offending player will address his teammates to explain what happened, apologize sincerely, and assure them that it will not happen again. This is not meant to embarrass or humiliate the player, but rather to affirm his accountability to his teammates, which will help restore their respect for him and for him to feel the support of his teammates. Next, I suggest you set up what the Japanese call senpai kohai, or mentor protege. It is a Japanese method of matching up senior employees, the mentor, with junior employees, the protege, to guide and advise them throughout their careers. This breaks down barriers, instills in the mentor a sense of responsibility for the next generation, and it gives the protege the security of having a senior employee looking out for them. So, upperclassmen will be paired up with underclassmen in a similar method. They will sit together on the bus and at team meetings, be stretching partners, have lockers next to each other, and sit together during practice breaks and personal visualization sessions. Use juniors and seniors as mentors. Give every freshman or first-year player and any other player that you feel needs it a mentor. Only use sophomore mentors if you do not have enough seniors and juniors to go around. It is best practice to pair up your players by their offensive positions, like quarterbacks with quarterbacks, running backs with running backs, and so on. Let the players choose who they want to partner up with. Lastly, you should make clear to your players that fundamental blocking and tackling will be emphasized above all other skills. Blocking and tackling is the foundation of a successful football team. Vince Lombardi simply put it that the team that blocks and tackles the best wins. However, most teams do not prioritize those two skills. Watch any high school, college, or pro game and you will see what I mean. It is missed blocks and tackles all game long. Nothing could destroy a great game plan more than that. Do you like to consistently having to make game time adjustments because you are getting beat by your opponent? Of course not. But fail to prioritize blocking and tackling, and that is exactly the situation that you will find yourself in, not to mention on the losing end of the scoreboard. Make blocking and tackling a pillar of your culture and emphasize it in a way that even your quarterback will want to block on a given play. And defensive players will want to light up the ball carrier every chance they get. There is no success but for blocking and tackling. Your players should be visualizing the perfect block and tackle constantly to the point that it is the first skill that they master. It should be part of their DNA. So, as you move toward preseason practices, your players should know the following. 1. What visualization is and its importance for performance enhancement, as I stated in episode 4. 2. How to perform the visualization for concentration technique. 3. The team vision and philosophy. 4. The process for choosing captains and their roles and responsibilities. 5. The process for correcting negative behaviors. 6. the mentor-protege system. And 7, blocking and tackling as the foundational skills that they will be required to master above all others. This concludes episode 5, visualization in the preseason. Please join me for episode 6, visualization in football practices, where I will show you how to embed visualization techniques into your daily football practices. Until then, this is the coach reminding you that the edge lies outside the box.